Hey y'all, welcome to the Moving with Millennials podcast with your favorite millennial realtors.
We are 4 top producing agents in the DFW area, and we are ready to share the good, bad, and the real life of real estate.
Whether you're thinking about getting into real estate, already an agent, or just curious about what your agent really does, join us.
Tune in every Wednesday to see what it's really like to be on this side of the transaction.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode with Moving with Millennials. Today we have another guest speaker on this week's episode, Reagan. So Reagan, thanks so much for coming on today. We're excited. You're not brand new, but you are a newer agent, right?
Yes.
Give us a quick bio.
I actually celebrated my 1 year this month.
Nice.
Oh my gosh,
So
congrats.
I've been here for a year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So I guess backstory, going way back, I'm from East Texas. I was born and raised in Tyler, Texas.
Okay.
And then I went to college at University of Oklahoma. And going to school in Oklahoma, I learned really quick that I want to move back to Texas.
Yeah.
After graduation.
Love
So
it.
after college, I graduated in 2017. I moved back to Dallas. I was really determined. That's where I wanted to be. I worked in oil and gas and did that for a few years and kind of decided I needed to go a different direction.
Yeah.
Got married last year, and I've been in Dallas ever since. So that's kind of been the timeline.
Got married and had a career change in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
I
lot.
can't imagine the stress.
Yeah.
It was yeah. Luckily, we don't have like kids or anything yet.
Yeah.
To add to that, we have a little puppy, Milo. He's a mini Aussie Doodle.
Literally,
God.
everyone names their dog before their spouse. As tradition. It's like, you're not the first, but like, you're literally, everyone names their
Well, but she said she was married.
Yeah,
like-
so it was,
She did
yeah.
say she was married, but she hasn't said his name.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
the dog is
It
Milo.
doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
My husband's name is Colton.
Yeah.
It's on brand for the
Yeah,
podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
So funny.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maggie
so-
forgot she was married.
I did not.
So,
Yes.
I did talk about Hank and Bella
for a while.
For a while, yeah. You
And
got
then you're
there.
like, and Chris.
Yeah.
and I'm married, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
just
I
made a
should-
whole reel about my marriage, so there you go.
I know, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Or actually Rachel did.
Yeah, I was saying, did
Yeah.
you or Rachel do that?
I sent her the pictures. Yeah, but she did.
Okay, so
Okay.
you guys got married, you
Yes.
started a career, so you were in oil and
Yes.
gas before that. What made you kind of want to
Yes.
switch?
Okay. There's a long-winded version, but short story. My degree was in petroleum engineering, which I liked. I'm very like analytical and like numbers, but I also really enjoy people. So I did oil and gas for like 2 solid years, and just kind of realized that wasn't really for me. I was out in the field. I was working on frac jobs and stuff in Louisiana and East Texas. And then when I got to the office, it was just very like spreadsheets, we did a lot of deals. I would evaluate like other properties that were for sale from other companies. So I kind of look at what they were offering for sale and evaluate it and run the numbers, basically like comps in real estate,
Yeah.
and
Cool.
see,
Got it.
do we want to offer this or whatever.
That's cool.
And it was just kind of draining. And I always had kind of had the idea of going into real estate, but for investment reasons.
Mhm.
But long story short, I was studying for that, and I realized kind of I could do this maybe as a career. And I wanted to stay in Dallas and be around, in the city that I really loved. So yeah, that's what's kind of transitioned. And then I guess it was December 2020 is when I stepped away from engineering and decided to pursue real estate full time when I was probably halfway through my classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a really interesting transition because a lot of my skill set that I didn't realize in engineering have really kind of moved over to
Right.
real estate. Yeah.
I think that's common. Like, a lot of agents get into it and they're like, oh, like, the stuff that I've done before, like, a lot of it, like, you can transition a lot of those kind of skills with you and find a way to, like, apply those tools to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, that used to be, like, one of my favorite things when I would teach at Class Ignite. Did I teach your marketing class?
I think you did my social media.
Social media.
Yeah.
And it would be one of those things where I would like ask, like, no matter what you've done, I can probably give you like 2 or 3 things of how
Yeah.
that would help you.
Mhm.
Did I do that in y'all's? I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. So like I would ask like, and so like I was only stumped once because she was like, I was a correctional officer. I was like, I'll get back to you. By the end of the class, because I would give them like 3 words. Like,
Yeah.
like for teacher, it's like you like education, you're patient, and you like processes. So it's like I would help them like kind of think of those things. And so like it's no matter what you've done, there's always something you can pull from it.
Definitely. So let's talk about the licensing process. And we had another episode of how to get licensed and all of that. But how long did it take for you to get through the process? Did you do it in person, Zoom, self-paced?
So I feel like mine's a little bit different, just because there was a lot of different things going on while I was taking it. But
Right, and like COVID.
Yeah,
Like,
so
that's why I said
I-
Zoom, because like in person like went away.
it was not, in person was not available. I registered in November 2020, so it was only online at that point.
Yeah.
I did it through a school agent.
Okay.
It was self-paced. I had a goal of doing it in a few months, but with real life of like still working my engineering job, planning a wedding, like trying
all
to.
the things.
I was actually back home in Tyler for COVID, working at my other job, so like also trying to find a place in Dallas and like plan a wedding. So it
That's
it was a lot.
Planning a wedding is no joke.
No, and I think it took. So I probably went full time studying for my real estate stuff online, self-paced in January, and then finished in March.
That's
Nice.
not bad.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
That's really good.
Most people that do self-paced, it takes them months
Yeah.
to get through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was very determined because I didn't have I stopped getting paid in December, so I needed to
Make a
get
living.
the ball rolling so I could
Yeah.
start selling real estate.
Love
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think one of the most common things I'm asked is how hard is the test? So what did you think of the test?
So Aceable, this is another thing with self-paced, is I was studying, I think I was doing too much. Like I was trying to get A's on everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally I realized I'm like, and I wish someone would have told me this,
C's
but
get
like,
degrees.
yeah, whenever you're interviewing at a broker, they don't need to see a report card at
No.
real estate
Yeah.
school. They just need to know you passed.
Right.
Yeah.
But in that, I only had to study about a week for my licensing exam,
Yeah.
and it was pretty. I wouldn't say it was easy. I was prepared
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
it.
Good.
I think Aceable did a really good job with just the practice tests and all of that. So
Yeah.
And did you pass your first time?
yes, I did.
Woohoo!
Very good.
I hated the
Nice.
test. I thought it was so
terrible. I hated it too. I thought
Jake's
the
like,
national.
I aced it.
Yeah, no, you're like straight A's. Like
Yeah.
I was not. But I thought the national was harder than the state. Yet I failed the state by 1 point the first time,
Really.
or 2 points. I can't remember. It was very close, and I walked out of there thinking, oh, I passed the state, failed national, and I passed the national. I thought national was way harder.
Yeah, it's longer.
It is longer. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean-
So then I like drove to the middle of the. You have to wait 24 hours to retake it. So I drove literally 2 hours away to take the state because I like needed to get licensed and then passed. But they don't tell you like what your grade is.
Did
No,
they tell you
passed
what
it.
questions you missed or anything?
Oh, if you fail, they tell you like the breakdown. So that's what I just went back and did. I like
that's
blew the
nice.
state off when studying because I just always thought the content for national was harder.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think most everyone thinks state is whatever I thought
I
was
think
the opposite with that.
And state was more like technical. Like you had to know like the members of Trek and like that kind of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah.
I just blew off.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Jake aced his, so
Yeah.
no one asked him his
he's like the
opinion.
GT of the group, gifted and talented.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
No. Well, do you feel like the classes really prepared you for being an agent now that you're a year in?
No, honestly.
Perfect. Yeah,
I'm
I mean, that's-
completely honest.
Yeah.
It teaches you how not to get sued, not
Yeah.
how to be
Yeah.
a realtor.
I think it's
And-
important for new people that are considering it to
Yeah.
hear that. You know,
Yes.
obviously that like,
You have no idea after you get licensed. You're like, what do I do now?
how do I
No.
work a lockbox?
Yeah.
And I wish someone would have kind of explained that to me because I thought I was doing something wrong whenever, I don't know, I got done and I'm like, well, I still don't know how to do anything.
Yeah,
Right.
Like,
for sure.
and honestly still don't know how to write a contract.
Well,
or
and
do
someone
any
like
of
hands you a
that.
contract, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what the lot is. I don't know what this is.
Where do I find that?
Yeah.
How can I find tax ID? Like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
know how to
Okay,
do
so
any of
after
that.
you got licensed, did you
Yes.
know, had you interviewed with brokerages, or how did you go about that? Sorry, I don't know how.
So I finished classes about 2 weeks before my wedding. So
Oh my god, I cannot imagine.
I can't either.
I was kind of talking to brokers at that time, but I was like, I'm about to be on my honeymoon. Like, I don't have time for this. So I got back. I interviewed with about 4 different brokers. I looked at boutique and then national, and I honestly had no guidance in it all. So I wanted to talk to all of them. I knew I wanted training because I had no idea what I was doing. And before this, I had no idea what a mortgage was when I started real estate school. Like,
Right.
I had never bought my own house.
Yeah.
I was so new. And I was a few years out of school, and so like all my friends, no one owned houses.
Yeah.
So yeah, then when I interviewed with Keller Williams here, is when I kind of knew it was checking all my boxes. So that was like 2 weeks after I got back from my honeymoon, passed my exam, and then signed on.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know, yeah. So, so when you did sign on, there's options. Like we have, obviously, good brokerages are going to have like classes weekly, multiple times a week. Some offer some sort of coaching programs. Is that something that you feel like, did you do coaching? Do you feel like it helped? Kind of like talk to us about that part.
Yes, that was a big thing I was looking for when I started was, I think, to kind of sidetrack, whenever you first start, a big misconception is realtors, it's like selling sunset like you see on TV, where you walk into a brokerage and they're like, oh, so-and-so wants to sell this home, you're next, Reagan, you help them. And it's not that way.
Not that way.
Totally not.
Yeah.
So I wanted something that was going to really train me and provide basically all the knowledge I needed, so I was ready to sell real estate. So yes, our office had a coaching program, and a big thing when I sat down and interview was like, I need help at least through my first 3 transactions, and then it was like, well, guess what we do? We help you through your first 3, and then on if you still need it.
We did coaching for our first 3 as well.
And I'm still, another thing is I decided to join a team a few months into my solo career, just to kind of leverage some weaknesses I was finding, like.
Absolutely.
And found out what my strengths are. And kind of through coaching, that's what kind of helps you. There's so many different ways to do real estate. And so it's really helps you kind of find your strengths and how you're going to do that, because you're going to look completely different next to someone else beside you and how they do their real estate business.
For sure.
Absolutely.
There's so many different ways.
Well, I think it's cool too, because we're individuals, but you're a team. So what really, do you love being part of a team?
I do. I tried to do solo for a while, which I would recommend anyone starting off, you try that a little bit, because you want to, like I said, you want to see where you need help and what you're good at, because you don't want to join a team that's good at everything you do and then, like, I'm not good at, like, graphic designing or social media. Like, that was my weakness. So I found someone who, leverages that out.
Right.
But yeah, I love it. And another thing was when I started, in coaching, they talk about your sphere and how that can generate your business, and that was a big part of me going into real estate. Was I had a bunch of people here who I graduated college with or I knew growing up that lived here, but then a few months into it, I realized that they're not at the point. I mean, we were one of the first people to get married. A lot of my friends are still, 24, 25, 26. They're not buying houses right now, and I know that's going to pay off down the road.
Absolutely.
They'll probably start very soon.
Give them a year or two, you'll start seeing it.
But it was kind of admitting, okay, until that does, I need to figure out how to get business now, and that's something that really helped with a team on just different ideas of how to lead generate and how to find clients.
And even having access to that team's sphere.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that you get. Yeah. And so just like, again, like agents that are listening, like it's a little bit different. Like solo agents, of course, you're creating your own business, you're generating your own leads, all that. You're getting your full pay. So on a team, obviously there's a cut. I'm definitely not going to talk about what your cut is. Something like that. Don't think I'm going there. Don't stress. But just kind of like explain like how that is part of being a team, is that like you get access to those leads or get access to that sphere. But on the other side of that is you are kind of, and not in a way paying to be part of the team, but you do share like what you make in a way.
It's an investment. And I think
absolutely that's perfect. That's the best way to say it.
And you need to evaluate what you need. For a lot of my things, startup costs, I didn't have a lot of cash to do that right away.
Right.
I mean, you guys
we just paid for a wedding.
Seriously. And married and you don't have that.
So even things like paying for my signs to go in the yard with listing, that was stressing me out because I didn't have the money yet, but I knew it was coming. So joining a team, they have all that. They have an established brand too, and like that is not my forte. I don't know how to do all that.
It's a process. It took me forever.
Yeah.
And I appreciate like seeing y'all and y'all's what y'all build by yourself, but I was like, I need help doing this.
I feel like it's
cool,
so foreign, like when you first get started, like how to start.
Yeah. Well, just because you're in a team now doesn't mean you won't be solo later, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for anyone listening who is maybe thinking like, do I have to commit to a team forever, or do I have to commit to being solo forever? You don't have to do either forever. You can kind of
that's
interchain
the joy of real estate.
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend to people starting out to, if you do decide a team's for you, every team's different. So I knew I had this sphere coming in, but I didn't want to give it away. So I found a team that really honored that and made sure that my people were my people.
Cool.
Because some are not that way.
No. Yeah, I love that.
Some teams take your sphere, and
so
it's everyone's sphere.
When you when you leave, you actually leave your sphere behind.
I just can't imagine. Like one day when I have a team, like there is no way I'm going to do that.
There are teams.
Yeah,
office there.
there
that way.
is.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine doing that.
And I think that's good for an agent. Maybe if you're starting in a new city where you don't know anyone and you need to pay, contribute a little more to a team that has a bigger sphere. But
There's no way that I'm ever going to bring you something but not be able to leave with it. Like,
Yeah.
No, ever. Never.
But so I think, but you're right. I mean, maybe in certain situations that makes sense for that person. I like that you said that you do recommend that agents try to do solo first.
Yeah.
I think that's really important as well, because you just never know what your strengths and weaknesses are going to be. And so I think doing it on your own, one, gives you like a little bit of experience, but also, like you said, allows you to kind of discover which parts of yourself need assistance. And then you can decide, okay, like, am I going to get that assistance through a team, or is it through coaching or something else? It's
Right.
like you have to kind of fail forward.
Yeah.
So I like that you said that, like, you think that is a good idea for most people to start on their own.
Definitely.
I forget who it was the other day who said growing pains. Again, I'm being you. But someone said, like, there's these growing pains of learning, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you start a new career, you're going to have these growing pains.
Yeah.
I think sometimes ignorantly you walk into a new career and you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you're going to have, if you're listening and you're going to step into real estate, there's going to be a growing pain.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout your career, there's growing pains. And so I think just being able to accept that and grow through it.
And real estate is hard to do. Like, it's a hard business to get into. Even with this crazy market, it's like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to get into real estate.
And
Such a great
like
market.
Literally fill the bathtub with cash and roll around
it's
in
like,
it when I make so much
really,
money.
it's not that way at all. I wish people knew that more.
No, because, I mean, and I explain that to friends right now. They're like, oh my God, like, you're doing so well. And I'm like, honestly, for some of those paychecks that you're seeing, I did 7 times the amount of work because I had a client that I wrote 8 or 9 offers for, which meant that I showed 8 or 9 times as many houses for them as well.
Yeah.
But I still only got the one paycheck, which is like, it's a good amount of money. But when you average it out sometimes over that and you're working much more than normal, this market is great, but it's just very difficult.
Yeah, extremely difficult. And we don't get paid till closing. So it's like, I talked about this on one, like the financing fell through a week before we'd been working for 6 months.
And they were
it's
back
like,
for 2 years.
Yeah. So,
And leading up to putting in the offers, all the work that goes on, which I think is very not understood.
And showing houses, like,
it's not a bad thing. I just wish I was a little bit more prepared on. It's not the dream HGTV real estate job where you have people lined up.
Well, I'm going to show you 3 houses and you're going to put it 1 in 3.
And your offer's going to get accepted below list. Like we were watching one the other day, and they were like, they came in like way below, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I guess
it was filmed 5 years ago.
But even 5 years ago, like
no,
so
I know.
When we bought our house in 2016, I mean, we were up against multiples.
We had an off-market purchase for us. So
that's nice. Of course you did.
That's so funny.
What do you wish you would have known before starting?
Oh, I feel like I've already kind of mentioned some things. That's like a long list. But I think the biggest thing, and when my business kind of switched and I kind of took off, because my first 3 months were kind of slow, and it was just...
It's totally normal.
Right. Yeah. And
it is
very competitive and hard on myself. But I was like, something needs to change. And I thought if I just post on social media and tell people I know that I'm a real estate agent, that it was just an open door, that they were just going to start using me as an agent. So I guess the biggest thing is like ask for business and not be scared. Because they don't, like we've been talking about, people don't get it. They don't understand, which is fine, but they think you sign up for a lot of talking to my friends, and their understanding was I got hired by a broker, I get a salary, they give me the clients, and
they give you leads.
And also I was learning that some of them thought I was maybe too busy to help them, and and which is crazy because I'm like, if you could only see me my first 3 months, I was stressed, but
Or I had people that in not my first year, but after I started doing a little bit, they're like, oh, well, we didn't think that you would like want to work with our price point. I'm like, I'll work with any price point. It's like,
still, business is business.
We were talking about like our lowest listing. I mean, I think we've all done under 100,000 or just at 100,000.
100, 119.
I will literally do whatever you need me to. It's not too low for me.
It's about the service for
us.
Yeah,
not 100%. Too high.
And those clients turn into referrals too. It's just
always water the seed.
That's 100%.
But it is true. Like, if you keep posting, right? Like, they see that and they're like, okay, cool. But you're like, I'm looking for new clients. I'm still available for new clients. I think,
you kind of brought up like, oh, like your friends and family will just naturally work with you. One of the things that I was kind of told in the very beginning was your friends and family know you as something you did before, whether or not you're straight in college or whether or not you were a teacher, design, like whatever else it was. It's like they know you as that. They kind of need to see that you are going to be good at this first.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though they love you, they're like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to trust you with, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a transaction, I kind of want you to get your sea legs underneath you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of like, when I get a chance to tell new agents that, it's like, your family may not work with you right away, and neither will your friends. So it's like, work on building your business in whatever way, whoever you have access to, talk to anyone, talk to strangers, any of that. Because my first transactions were kind of like, I wouldn't say like second or third level friendships. Like they were like far enough. They were in my sphere, but not people that I talk to every day or very often at all. But then that built into me being able to work with like close family and friends.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely important. Yeah. Anything else about like your first year that you would maybe do differently?
Besides just, I think another thing is, I was really in my head about being new, and being young. I really use that as kind of, I don't know, it's KW talk, but limiting beliefs where you're like, oh, people are going to know I'm new. They're not going to use me. But once I kind of realized, and I wish I would have realized it like 6 months sooner, that being new, being fresh, and going through training in this market right now was actually such a pro that I learned, you know, what's going on right now. And compared to agents who went through training, maybe they've been in business 20 years, they've never seen what's going on right now.
Right.
And that was a really big asset to, you know, buyers that I'm working and sellers right now.
Yeah.
And there's a way to kind of flip that script when someone's like, oh, like you're new, which means I have more time than that mega agent that's honestly going to hand you off to someone else after they interview.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes people interview with a rainmaker or a team leader or whatever, and it goes really well, but then they never speak with that agent again because they're working with a buyer or a listing agent or buyer's agent or whatever it is. Whereas like when you're talking to me and you're like, you're new, great. That means I have all the time in the world to focus on you and make sure that you have the best experience possible. And I have 400 other agents to help if I have an issue. But, you know, so it's like there's always a way to spin it to where like even being new, it's honestly, it can be a benefit. It just depends on how you deliver the message. Yeah. That's kind of like the important thing to know.
Love it.
Cool. Well, we are really glad that you joined us.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah.
We're so glad
Absolutely.
you came.
We've had like really good guests.
Yes.
We miss you, Mariana, but I mean, we're still chugging along.
Yeah, we're doing good. These have been some of my favorite episodes.
Me
though,
too.
like having
Me too.
guest
We need to
speakers
do
on.
more of this because it's been really fun.
Absolutely.
It's been more fun to interview and like record also.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun like because we're so used to our four perspective. We're so close. It's like our group text messages, you know, they're always going off, but like. So we know our perspective. So there's times where it's like I can kind of guess even like what Mariana's gonna say or like your points, like because we know each other so well. But like having someone else's perspective, and it's been fresh and new and a different take every time. We really appreciate that. So it's like it's fun for us. So
lots of fun.
All right, well join us next week. Maybe we'll have a guest speaker. I don't know.
Who knows?
But we'll see you guys soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.